So with that out of the way, actually, there's one more question in the chat from hiccups, excuse me, from Anthony Manzano. He says, I think people are overreacting. I don't think it's a controversy. So he's talking about the planting of like the flag in an opponent's turf, and it's only a controversy because there was a whole brawl that ensued that resulted in some players getting sprayed, like pepper sprayed or mace, whichever one it is. I have no idea, but again, it's like that's the only reason why it's controversial because it started a fight. Actually, it started several fights around college football, not just with Ohio State going up against Michigan. And since it was nationally televised and everyone was on TV, and most likely kids were watching it because it was on TV, it's something that maybe the college football committee is going to want to, like the NCAA is going to want to like look into and prevent any sort of outbreak like this from happening again. And the easy way to do that, the easy fix is to prevent, like to ban teams from doing this entirely, even though I don't think that should be it. Like the players, they just need to learn how to lose. Like that's the only reason why there's controversy, just because there was a fight. But aside from that, let's get into this second segment, which is going to be talking about Josh Allen and how he is officially solidified himself as the MVP of this season, with Lamar Jackson and the Ravens losing. More on that in the next segment. The Bills beating San Fran in a 35-10 win easily puts Josh Allen as the favorite to win the MVP. Like this game was never close. Like throughout through the first quarter, Buffalo, they scored a touchdown. San Fran, they answered with a field goal, and then that was when the scoring started. The Niners, they missed a field goal, then the Bills scored a touchdown, then the Niners had to punt, then the Bills answered back with a touchdown, and then the Niners, they missed another field goal. Then the Niners, they fumbled, but it resulted in a punt anyway, but they punted it right back, and then the Bills answered in the third quarter with a touchdown, and in the fourth quarter, they also answered with a touchdown after a San Fran fumble. It was just complete domination on both sides. It was snowing throughout this game. It was a beautiful game. I mean, obviously, when the Bills, when they play in the snow against a team that is used to playing in sunny weather and in perfect conditions, most of the time the Bills are going to be able to win in these games because they're better prepared. It's like it's the same concept with Tua Tagovailoa when he goes up against the Bills. I remember this one matchup. I don't know if it was last season or a couple of seasons ago. I don't really remember, but I know Tua, he was playing really well, but then the snow started to fall, and then once the snow started to fall, that was when everything collapsed for Miami, and they ultimately ended up losing to the Bills at the end of that game. And again, these conditions, obviously, they give the Bills a boost, but that doesn't give the Niners any sort of excuse for losing. Because again, these are weather conditions. You are expected to play well in these intense weather conditions. You're still expected to catch the ball. You're still expected to do all of these things. You can't blame it on the weather not going in your favor. You have to be ready for that. Like that's a normal thing in football. I mean, I don't think anyone really blames it on the weather. If you do, I think that's a very weak excuse. But in this game, Josh Allen ran for a touchdown. Josh Allen passed for a touchdown, and he also caught a touchdown that he threw to himself. It was a play where he threw a check down pass. His teammate, he knew he was going to get down to the ground and lose yards, so he lateraled it back over to Josh Allen, who ran it in for a touchdown and got it to the pylon. So great game, fantastic game coming in from Josh Allen. He finished the game going 13 for 17 on passes with 148 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and 18 yards on the ground on 3 attempts, along with a rushing touchdown to seal the game. It was just a peak performance coming in from Josh Allen. Again, the yards, they weren't really like 148 passing yards. Like, again, it's not really all that jaw-dropping, I guess you could say. It's nowhere near like the big numbers that we usually see a lot of these quarterbacks throw for. But again, this is just he only threw the ball 17 times, but he made them count. And throughout the game, he almost had as many touchdowns as incompletions. Almost. Like throughout the entirety of the game, he almost had that. But this is just, and on top of the fact that Lamar Jackson ended up losing, this ultimately puts Josh Allen as the favorite for being the MVP in this season. Ultimately, this is just this is the nail in the coffin. I said before on previous segments that I think we should wait until this coming week to see whether or not the Josh Allen has solidified the MVP race, because saying that he did that after beating the Chiefs and then the team, like the Ravens, they went on a bye week, I thought that was rather unfair. But in these last few games, the Ravens, they've ended up dropping a couple of these games, and because they have ended up losing and the Bills have ended up winning, it only makes sense that Josh Allen ends up being the favorite for the MVP. Like that's the only thing that makes sense. He's the only quarterback that has the great record and has the great stats to back it up as well. And again, like a lot of people, they might disagree with me and say that this is not a quarterback award, which I understand, like, that argument. And since it is veering into that direction, I might as well go ahead and go into the third segment where I talk about the matchup between the Eagles and the Ravens, another Bird Bowl, if you will, and just, the quarterback award and Saquon Barkley and his, the MVP award being a quarterback award, and whether or not Saquon Barkley has a chance, especially after this win against the Ravens. So I'll be right back after this short break, so be sure to stay tuned.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.